Outer Orange.
Привет, Ami time. Hey guys, OuterOrange here. Today we're going to talk about the Ami Vanguard deck. It is basically just a soul charging deck that has a restating Vanguard and also minuses some power for your triggers. It's actually a really cool deck to play. I think it's very awesome. I wanted to share it with you guys today, so let's go ahead and get started. We're going to go ahead and get started with the ride line and then go through the deck itself and all that really fun stuff. So sleeves I'm using is the LE sleeves. This is the ride deck sleeves. This is the main deck sleeves. The U sleeves are here, so this is what I'm using. And then I have these Mana Moon over sleeves on the ride deck specifically. So starter doesn't matter. I actually thought it did, but actually it doesn't matter. So you can run whatever starter you want. And then next we have the Evil Eye Beast. This is the Ami Crow. Once per turn, you can Soul Blast. Look at the on Vanguard. Look at top 5 cards of your deck. Choose a grade 3 or greater Ominagruzio, basically one of these or the reverse, and add it to hand. If you don't add it to hand, you can, if you don't reveal a card, you Soul Charge 2 instead. The Soul Charge 2 is actually pretty nice. Sometimes you actually don't want to reveal, but usually you do want to reveal. But yeah, up to you, kind of what you do. If you Soul Charge 2 early, then you can draw a bunch with some other cards. That's actually pretty useful. Crazy abilities on it until it gets ridden upon. So this card just basically you have to wait a turn for it. But basically when it's rode upon by this card, you get the ability to search your deck for a trigger, put into soul, and if you do, you draw a card. So you can search for any trigger you want, put into soul, and you draw a card. This does include the over trigger and anything else. So if you want to set up a certain way, if there's certain things you're worried about, you can easily just search your deck for it and put it in here, and boom, bam, you have that, and you get to draw a card. So if there's like a certain trigger you want to get out earlier, say you don't even want to deck yourself out, so maybe you want to get the draw, whatever works for you, just get it out, put in a soul, and then you draw. You can choose not to search for anything if you truly feel like you don't need to, so you can also just whiff the search. If you whiff the search, then you don't draw. On ride, we have the main card right here. So it says when placed, you can look at top 5 cards for an Ominagruzio, basically another copy of itself, or the mask version of it, or you can actually pick up a mask order, which if you don't know what that looks like, that's one of these. So you can pick up basically 3 targets. It's this, and the mask. So you have three options of potential shots of what you can grab. It's pretty useful. The top 5 is really nice. You usually find something. And the second ability says you Soul Blast, and you choose up to 1 trigger unit from your drop and bind it until the end of turn. Your opponent cannot increase power with trigger effects of cards with the same trigger icon as any card in your bind zone. So this is kind of like the beginning. So basically, as you keep binding throughout the game, your opponent eventually will have access to no triggers for their defenses. But then on top of that, the other one actually forces you to also lose shield on top of that. So it's just something very gotta keep in mind. It's always on your turn, so just something to note. But when it's your turn, your opponent is basically neglected shield. 3 more copies of the one that we just saw. Basically, this is just the regular one. You want Persona, and you actually want to go back and forth between these two a lot with the mask. So you actually want to run a full copy of this, and you want to run a full copy of the mask version of it too. You want to constantly swap back and forth. You want to use this effect, and then you're going to actually Persona ride into using the mask order into this one, and then you're going to rewrite, and the next turn you're going to rewrite back into this, and then you're going to use another mask order to go back into this. So basically you'll be swapping back and forth. You're going to use the first skill, go into him, go into this one, use its skill, and then you're going to next turn you're going to rewrite back into this, and then you're again going to use its effect, and then you're going to ride to this and then use its effect. You're going to go back and forth between these a lot, so you need max copies of all of them. They are very, very versatile. Let's go ahead and talk about the second card real quick, just so we understand what we're dealing with here. It says this card can only be written on Ami, so you can't like ride on like any other cards, and then you can remove a different copy of itself. You'll be removing usually this copy or your ride deck copy, to then choose up to 1 trigger unit from your drop, mine it, and then this unit gets all of your opponent's cards with the same trigger icon as any card in your bind zone, get minus 5k shield, and your opponent cannot increase their trigger the power will flow with their trigger effects until end of turn. So basically this is an upgrade to this guy. So this guy says you cannot increase your power through triggers. This one says you also lose 5k shield on those triggers that you bound. So as the game goes on, once you bind every single trigger that includes the over trigger, all of them lose their abilities. Basically, if you defensively check them or if you try to guard with them, you'll lose 5k shield. It says at the end of the battle, this attack you can counter blast 1, put 2 repack back or bigger into the soul, and stand this unit, and it loses a drive. So this is also a restand this and you swing again. So your opponent has to deal with a lot of pressure that comes out from this card, and you'll usually always be on Persona. So this will always be swinging for 23 and restanding for 23. If you hit triggers on it, guess what's even bigger, and you basically have triple drive because you have the twin drive and then the restand for another drive, and all your minusing is putting you into soul, which the soul really helps you because you want to have soul to then keep drawing cards. Overall, just really nuts. Now, in order to keep these cycling back and forth, you do need 1 more card, and that is the mask Hydro Gum. As I mentioned before, this is a very important card. You should be running this at 4. This is searchable off of all the different abilities that we just saw. And then also because you want to keep going back and forth between both Amis, you need to keep finding this card to keep putting it to soul busting it out, but to soul busting it out. Sometimes you want to use its ability since we do run other cards. They're also Dragon Tree cards. So you want to see this pretty ASAP. Also just that its normal effect is just good too. It says top 5 for any mask card or Dragon Tree card, which we do run other Dragon Tree cards in here aside from the Amis. So you'll definitely want to use this. And then from drop, you can shove it into soul, ride the mask Ami, and then activate persona if your opponent is on grade 3. So this is the wrench right here. So this one directly searches for a copy of one of the masks and also gets your Dragon Tree marker, which means on persona turns, your turns would be more lethal. The counterblast soul blast is not a big deal in this deck, so this is actually a very, very good card to go into. I'm running 3 just because of space issues. There's actually not enough room to run 4. Up it to 4, maybe cut something else back if you want, but 3 is pretty okay. A very strong beefy boy, which I have a hard time seeing all the time, but this is Misery Winged Dragon. Very strong card. It says during your turn, this unit gets 5k for each type of trigger in your icon in your bind zone. So basically draw, front, crit, heal, OT. That's 5 different triggers you can have, so that this can go up to 25k power, and that's really nuts. And in odd place, if you have 2 or more types of triggers in your bind zone, you can still blast 2 and draw a card. Also really nice. So odd place, you draw, and then also it swings for really, really big numbers. 4 of the gunning grams. You might be wondering why. 1, soul is pretty important early on. You kind of want to have soul early on so that way you can do other things. The soul blast 3 is actually really nice because you get to draw a card 2. You want to see your pieces as fast as possible. This deck does not draw outside of you having to soul blast, so you need soul in order to draw. Otherwise, this deck can actually minus really quickly, and your hand can suck pretty bad. So you actually really want to utilize this card right here. And yeah, this is a very important card to have in this deck. I feel like it's basically a staple. The other staple of this deck, which is even more important, I think, is the Rune Collector. So on place, you can choose to soul charge. The sound effect is what's really important. It says when it is put into soul for the cost of your Ami, it counts as 2. So as we mentioned earlier, or as we talked about earlier, in order to restand this, you have to shove 2 dudes into soul. Guess what? This guy counts as 2 dudes. So you just put him in, and then he counts as 2. So basically what you sometimes want to do, or depending on the situation, you'll usually have him in the back row swinging. You'll usually have him boosted swing with this, and then you'll shove him into soul, and then you'll think the condition will go off very smooth and easily, and it's very, very convenient. Perfect guards, because perfect guards are amazing, and I have one random one. I have a lot of Dark State decks right now, so I'm kind of trying my best to fit them all. But yeah, this is just 4 PGs. You can run the element Sectitude. I always have like one off one, because whatever the off one is usually the one I constantly change out. So we have the over trigger. Now keep in mind, if you do bind this, your opponent does lose that 100 million power if you do the effect and everything. So if you happen to have to guard with this and then you bind it out of the game, if their opponent checks defensively, over trigger does not go off. However, they get the effects. Keep in mind, they get the effects, they just don't get the defense basically. But this OT is nuts with the triple drive and everything. With the restating Vanguard, if you just hit this early, you're basically at lethal range almost the entire game. If you want some crits, it can be vanilla crits in all honesty. Actually, I think it's better to run vanilla crits. I just can't find any extra. So the 5k base does matter, because sometimes, like I said, because you're forced to shove 2 back row rear guards into soul, sometimes you have to call triggers down, and ideally you want it to be 5k triggers. So this definitely should be 5k triggers. You can use these because they will go themselves into soul, and then you can soul blast them out to then get the conditions to put them in to the bind zone. So up to you how you want to do it. Here's the other crits. So like I said, I do have the other crits as well. So binding this early will usually help you, so you definitely want to utilize on having 8 crits versus like maybe 7 or less. So you definitely want to have 8 crits, because most decks run crits. Actually, if I'm not mistaken, all decks run crits currently in D. So there's literally no reason to not have this at 8, because you want the thesis as soon as possible, bind it out of the game to neg your opponent's shield as quickly as possible. Next round, 2 draw. This is up to you if you want to. Basically, it's like this slot right here can be 2 draw 1 front, or it can be 2 front 1 draw. You do want to have both, because you want to bind both out of the game as quickly as possible. So if your opponent's running fronts, you're going to want to get rid of the fronts as fast as possible. If your opponent's running draws, you want to get rid of draws. Some people also run rainbow, so you want both out. So basically, because of that, you do want to run all the triggers, so you want that bit of rainbow. You can make the meta decision if you want to run 2-1 or 2-1-2, whatever works for you. And then of course we have just heals, and the heals, well, there's regular heals. Well, I'm gonna do a quick mulligan run just so you guys can see this deck, since it's a little bit more new. All right, we are doing a very quick little run here. Hopefully our hand isn't complete garbage. We'll have to see here. Hand is pretty okay. We're definitely going to keep these 3. This will give us access to some soul charging. This will give us access to a mask, and this will give us more soul charging. We can send these back. So those can go, and then we can draw 2 more cards. That is a very solid hand we got there. I'm not gonna lie, this is a very interesting hand. Who goes first? Who goes second? So I rolled a 4. Opponent rolled a 2, so we'll be going first. Boom. Oh wow. This is quite a. We'll get rid of one of these. I don't think we need that many, since we already have the 1. And then we'll use the ability here. We'll soul blast, check top 5. Now we did whiff. I usually, honestly, almost always whiff this ability. I don't know why. But since we did that, we get to soul charge 2. We soul charge 2 triggers, which will come up later on because we'll be soul blasting those out. It's our opponent's turn. They'll deal us a damage. Now it's our turn, and oh boy, wow, where did our triggers go? They just went hasta la vista. So right into the 2, I think here we do want to counterblast, soul blast. Do a little bit of digging here for that mask, and then also we get a little token here. So let's go ahead and place that wherever and I get access to a deck then basically. So we're gonna do that. This up a little bit neater here. So there's that. We could kind of like soul charge a little bit here just to kind of that's not good. To kind of just get us a little bit rolling here with the with our soul, because then we're actually gonna soul blast and draw. So we're gonna go a little crazy here. Oh, we soul charge the over trigger. There goes that. We could just bind that later. It's fine. So then we can soul blast 3 to draw cards. Let's go do that off of this one's draw. So we drew into a crit. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. So we're gonna go ahead and swing at our opponent. We'll hit another gunning, and then we don't have a mask, which is really, really painful right now. So anyway, this there go. Oh god, that's another. We just sent another mask. I really hope we're gonna find another one, because if we don't, this is gonna be a very, very bricky mulligan here. Go ahead and pitch this, I guess, right into this guy. So he has the op place. Actually, we have 2 op places. So this one activates and this one activates. I'm kind of almost debating if we want to skip out on this, but honestly, like I said, this decks out, so I'm actually just gonna go ahead and shove that draw in and draw a card. You know, that's technically doing the same thing, but I don't really want to hit that draw. So now we draw a card, and then we do the on place. So top 5. And we do get 1, but we really need the reverse here, which is like really, really not good that we're not seeing that. This is why you want to run 4 copies, guys. This is why you want to run 4, because we already got rid of 2. So let's go ahead and check top 5. Oh, thank goodness, it's actually a ton of them. All right, whew. We're safe. We got our condition going. Cool beans. So here you can choose to go into the mask if you want, or if you want, you can just go ahead and soul blast, bind a trigger, and stay on this one. It is a little risky for us to swap over because we already ran out of quite a few of our stuff here. So I'm gonna move my cards down real quick. There's gonna be a bind zone right here. So we bound a crit, and this is kind of like a little bit of a weird situation we got going on. We'll soul charge 1. And then we'll probably soul blast 3 to draw again off of the gunnings. We are kind of in a weird spot here where we could choose to, I guess, ride. I think that's what we're gonna do. We're actually gonna go into the mask here and just kind of force it out, because we kind of need to. So as weird as it sounds, let's go ahead and remove, I believe we got 1 in here. Let's remove this one from the game and go ahead and bind another trigger. So this time we can choose a heal. It kind of just depends on what you're facing. And then we just go into combat. We don't get persona since we went first, but we do get to just kind of go crazy here. So we still get the restand. We just don't have persona. So we're gonna go ahead, boosted swing. We're gonna do our 2 checks. Hey, it's our reverse guy. And then we're gonna activate the ability, shove this into soul, restand him again, and swing once more. And this time we get a draw, so we'll draw. And wow, we have gone through so many of our triggers, not even funny. And then we'll swing here, do whatever, pass it along to them. It's their turn. We're gonna take some damage here. Maybe guard a little bit. We did hit quite a bit of triggers here, so in our hands, so we can go ahead and guard. And then maybe even intercept here. And then it's back to our turn. Now here's the fun part. We're gonna rewrite back into the old one. Activate its ability to check top 5 one more time. We should whiff this, to be honest, because I think we've gone through majority of our stuff here. So we did whiff that, which is fine. I expect us to whiff it. Now we'll use the mask here to check top 5 again. Maybe we'll find something cool. We did find another one of these, which is pretty solid. We'll take another copy. Why not? Our opponent doesn't know that we have another one in hand. It's cool. And then we'll go ahead and instantly just do the persona. Now we have persona active. We do draw off of that, which we drew another heal. Oh, before that, we actually have to soul blast. Before that, let's soul blast and do that effect first. So we're gonna bind a trigger. So we'll bind we could bind a draw this time. We haven't seen our front yet. And then we're gonna go ahead and go into this one, and then we're gonna activate his ability to remove another copy, which is in our soul. So let's pretend we soul blasted this card and not this one. They look so similar to me. So let's remove this from the game, and then now we get another trigger. So this time we're actually going to pick up the OT since we don't have the front in sight yet. So we'll go ahead and do that. So there we go. So now we have that ability skill active again. And here, this is a little awkward here. We're kind of running out of rear guards. So we're kind of in a bit of a weird situation. We can actually soul blast and draw here, so I think that's what I'm going to do. Actually, we can even activate 2, which I think would be ideal for us. We're actually going to soul blast 6 and draw 2 cards and hope that we find better key cards. And we did not find, we keep drawing triggers. That's crazy. Well, all right, I guess we're rolling with triggers. So here we're gonna have to swing with this side first because we're actually gonna use this guy for this effect. So we're gonna swing. They're gonna, you know, do whatever. We're gonna swing with this. We're gonna hit all our normal units because we're basically out. Then we're gonna shove this into soul for the counterblast for the restand, and we'll swing again and hit a heal, which is actually not terrible. That's not terrible. So you see, and then we'll swing with this is just 18 or 28 if we put the P trigger here, and then it is indeed our opponent's turn. So they're gonna again give us some damage. We're getting close to deck out. If you can't tell yet, but we're actually getting pretty close to deck out here. So we gotta play a little carefully. We're gonna guard, of course. Guard. We're gonna go through. We're gonna use up all our stuff here. Keep in mind we do need 2 back row rear guards because we did lose our Burn Collector, so just something to keep in mind. So now it's our turn. We're getting pretty close to deck out. We have about 5 cards left in decks, so if we Persona we should be okay, but that's under the assumption that we don't have a draw, which I don't think we do. I actually think we're complete out of triggers, so we are gonna Persona here because we gotta go for game. So we're gonna Persona, draw a card. We're out of triggers. Actually, no, we're not out of triggers. We're gonna use the effect. We're gonna remove another one of these. Another one of these copies, and then we're going to go ahead and bind the front now, so we actually have all 5 of the triggers, which I didn't expect them rolling to get this far, but it did. Then we're going to move this back. We're actually going to call this guy. We're not going to be drawing because holy crap, we do not want to draw. We do not want to soul charge either, so we actually can't call this. We actually are just have to move this back, call this guy, which is perfectly fine. We have the Rune Collector. The Rune Collector is a May, so we don't have to mandatorily call it. And we're actually in full setup here. So we have Persona active. These are plus 25Ks right now, so these are very, very beefy boys because we have all 5 active, and then we also have the Vanguard. So I think here we can just swing in. Honestly, I think we went through literally every trigger, so we shouldn't hit anything here. So we didn't, as I expected us not to. So we're going to shove this into soul and then swing again with it. So there's that. And then this is 35 plus another 8, which is 43. And then this is 35 plus another 5, 40, 48. As you can tell, we went through our deck really fast. We didn't really have a choice because, like I said, you kind of want to see your pieces pretty quickly. It's unfortunate we saw these super late. This happens to me a lot. It's just how my mulligans have been and just how the game has been going for me, which is unfortunate because this is the beefer. This is the card you want to see like pretty soon. Back on the ride line here. I hope you guys enjoyed that profile. I don't play this deck like every single day religiously, but I do play it occasionally. I do think it's pretty fun to play. But anyway, that's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to shop at 50cards.shop. Code orange for any of your goodies. Particularly this deck, I got everything for 50 cards, so appreciate you 50 cards for doing that for me. So you also can get cards from him as well, and you can use my code orange to save yourself some money as you do that. So if you have a friend out there that might be interested in a deck like this, well, here you go. Use my code. You have the deck profile. You have everything you need to get started. Let me know below how you feel about this deck or any other decks that you're currently playing in set 12. And yeah, peace out, guys. That's Vidania. See you guys in a future video. Bye.